It was almost 55 years ago to the day KCUR went on the air. Its studios at the time on the top floor of Schofield Hall at what was then Kansas City University. Sam Scott, the station's founder and sole employee, was hands-on in the literal sense of the word. He actually helped dig the hole for the transmitter, cobbled together with recycled lumber, metal, and glass. Programming started with 3 hours of classical music at night, and you had to live within 3 miles to hear it.
Oh, we opened with some light classic music. We called an aperitif, I believe, or something esoteric like that, and with spit and glue and volunteer help, we got the thing going.
Early on, the station was staffed totally by student volunteers, and Sam Scott pretty much decided what went on the air. His wife Gloria had a program reading the 17th century diary of Samuel Pepys aloud.
I perceiving plainly she had Algin's apprehensions.
And Scott readily gave airtime to community leaders like banker Michael Browdy.
I started managing your money on KCUR in the late 70s. I dreamed up the idea for the show, came over and talked to him, and he right away bought it.
While Sam expanded local public affairs, he also positioned the station well nationally. In 1971, KCUR became a charter member of a group of stations mostly licensed to universities. It was known as National Public Radio. KCUR not only was one of its first members, it also got one of the first 15 satellite uplinks in the system. Former KCUR reporter Les Cook says the uplink created a huge opportunity.
An opportunity to file for the network without having to use a phone line. People at NPR just loved that. All of a sudden they were getting full fidelity reports from the field for the first time.
KCUR was able to expand its programming to 20 hours a day with content distributed by NPR.
We end this edition of Radio Newsreel. This is Peter King in London.
KCUR was among the first to carry a fresh national radio magazine with a catchy title, All Things Considered. Its first host was Bob Edwards.
Next on All Things Considered, pollution in Lake Michigan.
KCUR's programming became a tapestry of classical and popular music.
The name of the program is Cypress Avenue, and I'm Bill Shapiro.
Public affairs and national and local news. That local news produced by an enterprising team, says Bob Thatch, who was music director in the 70s.
There were just 2 people in the news department at that time. Paul Rickert-Bowe was the news director, and Patty Cahill was the cub reporter when I started there.
And where else does a public radio cub reporter go for a story? To a dulcimer festival, of course.
How good are your dulcimers? Can you make a living from making dulcimers? Why don't I see many dulcimers around on the street? I've seen some of the make-your-own dulcimer kits around here. Are those pretty good? All of yours have hearts. I understand that that's for playing love songs?
No, I don't know the history of that.
Cub reporter Patty Cahill left KCUR for KMUW, public radio in Wichita, where she worked as a reporter, news director, and general manager. During that time, she was also elected to the National NPR Board of Directors. In 1987, she returned to KCUR to be the general manager, just as the station had moved to bigger, better-equipped studios at 4825 Troost. Ron Jones, program director under Patty, says Patty's goal was to make public radio competitive.
We didn't know much about the business side, how to build an audience, or even to fundraise, but Patty made it clear that growing the audience was the priority. So we streamlined the schedule. We moved away from a quilt-like lineup that was filled with half-hour programs. We moved to larger blocks of news, classical music, and even jazz.
Patty doubled the listening audience within a few years. Underwriting and membership support grew exponentially.
And we'd like you to call 235-5287. Here we are in the second segment of this hour, Morning Fun Drive here in our Fall Fun
With
Drive.
a budget that has grown from $30,000 in 1980 to roughly $3 million today, Patty dramatically changed not only the sound, but the profile of public radio in Kansas City.
Try a tomato plate too. Here's cacciatore. Taste the bologna, Tony. Everybody eats when they come to my house.
And for those who always wonder about it, Cab Calloway, that's who that is singing that.
She put resources into a weekly town hall at Union Station, hosted by former Mayor Emanuel Cleaver.
It's lunchtime. I'm Emanuel Cleaver, and this is Under the Clock.
And 10 years ago, Patty brought Steve Kraske, the political correspondent from the Kansas City Star, to KCUR for a partnership that frequently has made KCUR the go-to source for political dialogue.
Welcome to Up to Date. I'm Steve Kraske. It's been called the most polite, positive, friendly Kansas City mayor's race in a long, long time. So upbeat, in fact.
From KCUR News, this is Casey Currents reporting news and culture in Kansas City's diverse communities and beyond. I'm Sylvia Maria Gross.
And I'm Susan Wilson.
The weekly magazine Casey Currents reaches out to historically undercovered communities and finds undiscovered stories. And most recently, Patty added Central Standard to the schedule. That show brings a tech-savvy host and a younger, hipper sound.
Number 2, live on less than I earn. Already doing that. Number 3, pay myself first. Easier said than done. I'm Jabalani LaFall, and on today's Central Standard...
Over the years at KCUR, wounded egos, angry listeners, and anxious patrons have taught Patty Cahill not to take herself too seriously.
I've been burnt in effigy. I've been threatened. I've gotten stuff thrown at me by disgruntled employees. I once had a picture of me on the Kansas City Star, the editorial cartoon, with combat boots on, kicking people.
She can be goofy and irreverent. She rarely looks the management part. On the other hand, Patty's professional gravitas only seems to grow. Not long ago, she was approved by the U.S. Senate as a board member of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This past summer, she was made its chair. Retirement from KCUR has given Patty Cahill more time to herself and to spend as a mother and grandmother. But her passion and continued commitment to public radio stands as a reminder to us all how important it is. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the bold, the original Ms. Patty Cahill.